morning, Chakravarti sir. We should start.
Sir, morning, sir. Should we, sir?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Let's go ahead.
Go ahead with I'll start with the university song.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, we will begin with the university song.
And I hope you're live on Facebook also.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All the best.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Arun sir, for playing this university song. A very good morning to one and all present here. I, Smith Desai, express my earnest pleasure in welcoming you all to this webinar, jointly organized by the Faculty of Management Studies, the Maharaja Sayajirao University of Baroda, and the Internal Quality Assurance Cell. The Faculty of Management Studies believes in nurturing the students from grassroots level. The Management Students Forum and the clubs at our faculty jointly and actively organizes various activities and events for the holistic growth of all our students. Some of the activities include quiz, group discussions, case study analysis, internal club events, and talk shows like backyard talks. During this unprecedented pandemic, our faculty had organized 16 national level webinars. All these activities are conducted and managed by the students with the continuous guidance from all our faculty members and the support of our Dean, Professor M.N. Parmar, along with the continuous blessing from our Honorable Vice-Chancellor, Professor Dr. Parimal Vyas. Moving further with our today's national webinar on building research culture through National Education Policy 2020, I would request Dr. B.S. Chakravarti, Director of Internal Quality Assurance Cell, to welcome and introduce our Honorable Vice-Chancellor, Professor Dr. Parimal Vyas. Over to you, Chakravarti, sir.
Thank you, Smith. Namaste, Honorable Vice-Chancellor of the MS University of Baroda, Professor Parimal Vyas. Invited speakers, Professor R.S. Dubey, the Vice-Chancellor of Gujarat Central University, Gandhinagar, and Professor J.P. Jurel, the Director of Innovate Center, Professor M.N. Parmar, Dean Faculty of Management Studies, Senate and Syndicate members, Deans of Faculties, Heads of Departments, and dear participants, a very good morning to all of you. I welcome you all to this webinar in a series of webinars that we are hosting on national education policy. For all these seminars or all these webinars, I would say the very inspiration is our Honorable Vice-Chancellor, Professor Parimal Vyas, under whose inspired leadership we are going ahead. And let me reiterate our commitment to the implementation of national education policy. We are duty bound to do it, and we have already begun our preparations. Well, Professor Parimal Vyas is a professor at two faculties here, the faculties of commerce as well as management, and he is a council member of the National Board of Accreditation. He has also led many NEP peer teams as the chairman of the team. But I believe for all the activities that we are doing, including the IPSC activities, including the implementation of the national education policy, he has been the main source of inspiration and motivation. Not taking much of time, may I now request Professor Parimal Vyas to kindly address the audience. Sir, over to you.
Yeah. Namaskar. I hope I'm audible to all of you.
Yes, sir, you are.
Yeah. Good morning, Suprabhat, Namaskar, and let me at the outset congratulate Faculty of Management Studies, Dean Professor M. Parmar, and entire team of Faculty of Management Studies, and also the team of our Internal Quality Assurance Cell, headed by Professor Chakravarti, Director of Internal Quality Assurance Cell, and all other deans, the members of the MS University of Baroda, the faculty members, their students, and all other attendees who joined us across the country in a national webinar, which is of a very, very important significance and relevance, because if we want to become Jagat Guru or Vishwa Guru that we aspire to, we come across several talks on this, and we are all aspired, to rise to this level in 21st century. In that case, as we all will have to accept, realize, internalize, and implement the importance of research. And with that perspective, as you all know, that 29th July is going to be, or it has already become a historical day in the country, because on that day, the National Education Policy was approved by the Cabinet of the Government of India. Today we are blessed with the presence of Professor Dubey sir, the Vice-Chancellor of the Gujarat Central University, and I am not aware of many of you may not know, but when we talk about National Institute of Ranking Framework or all other database activities, the driving force of that is Inflibinet, and the director of Inflibinet and a good friend of mine, Professor Jural, he is also with us to guide that what we should do to build research capabilities in the universities. Now, this is one of the most important challenge, and let me share with all my esteemed deans who are here that we should not feel satisfied with whatever that we have achieved. It's a continuous process, and we really need to put in a lot of efforts when we talk about research publications having high impact factor into a Scopus or Web of Science. But that is one aspect of it. We should also realize that research plays an important role. I always say that research is normally perceived, or research is normally understood and being used as a medicine. Whenever we are sick, we take support of research. We take support of medicine because we want to recover. But I would request all of you to note that I would request that please consider research as not medicine but as milk. We never question ourselves, in order to remain physically and mentally fit, we take milk regularly. Likewise, what I would suggest that knowledge creation and research, they are very critical to growing and sustaining a large and vibrant economy, uplifting society and continually inspiring a nation like ours. And I believe that is why a robust ecosystem of research is most important, is the need of the hour. We all are aware of climate problems that we are facing, such as climate change, population dynamics and management, biotechnology, and expanding the digital marketplace, and the rise of machine learning, artificial intelligence. We are talking about augmented reality, virtual reality, and then we are all passing through what I would correctly put it as, we are passing through an age of disruption, where I think the innovation which can happen only provided we focus on research. And we are also facing, on the other hand, when we look at our world's biggest democracy, we are facing number of problems. You are all aware of the societal challenges that we are facing, and the biggest challenge that we have, I hope you all are aware of, the access of drinking water to all, sanitation facilities and healthcare facilities, transportation. We are all aware of the problems that we face, with reference to quality of air. Then there are issues pertaining to energy, infrastructure, and I think we should also agree that yes, we really need to put efforts to improve the quality of higher education. You are all aware of that the National Education Policy or Rashtriya Shiksha Niti is talking more about synergy. There will be a strategic emphasis on liberal arts, and that is why probably central universities, I understand, has already taken a step, number of steps in order to see that synergy or an integration is brought about between our emphasis on science and technology as well as humanities and social sciences. And research is very, very important and essential for economic, intellectual, societal, environmental and technological health and progress of any country. And that is why when we talk about higher education, particularly the role of research and innovation has become very, very crucial. And just before a couple of minutes back, Honorable Prime Minister in fact today has delivered an address nationwide in a governors conference which is taking place, which is on the way, which is still in progress. Even Honorable Prime Minister also emphasized on one aspect that if we really want to become Jagat Guru, the role of teachers, the participation of teachers and participation of students, and with our emphasis on holistic education coupled with promoting research in our universities, would be very, very important. As you are all aware of that, the Government of India in its policy now talks about already setting up of National Research Foundation, NRF, it is known as, and you must have come across various activities that the National Research Foundation would take up for catalyzing research and innovation and knowledge creation. But then research has to be relevant, it has to be dynamic, it has to research has to be, we'll have to really relate research with the its impact on society, its impact on standard of living. Now I believe that is very, very important, and as we all know that we have to strengthen the linkage of research with its productivity, and for the first time the Government of India has put a strategic emphasis on improving quality of teaching through research in the particularly in the state universities and colleges across the country. And as we all know that now only competitive peer-reviewed scientific publication, and I'm sure we are all aware of CARE reference, this quality journal levels of the University Grant Commission. But more important is that the outcome of the research, it is extremely important. Now, how can we build research capability in the universities? We have two experts to guide us, but to just touch upon some of the important aspects which are very, very crucial. Above all, I understand that we really need to emphasize on creative, beneficial linkages, and not just with industry or corporate or research and development laboratories, but it has to happen with even the government bodies, with the government of Gujarat. It has to happen with various research institutions. The policy talks about translational research, it talks about applied research. There are several kinds of research programs which and we all participate in various research activities through conferences, workshops, seminars, and so on and so forth. I would request all my attendees and colleagues who are here that we have to ensure that we just do not carry out research in order to earn some degree, or in order to get some career advancement or some promotion or some position, but we also need to use research in order to see to it that how can we can solve the day-to-day real life problems that we face. And therefore, in the state of Gujarat, the government of Gujarat, the Department of Education has put a very strategic emphasis on promoting startup. We have an opportunity now because the Maharaja Sayajirao University of Baroda is one of the large multidisciplinary research university. We need to aspire for these, and we need to really significantly contribute. And one area on which even we need to put efforts is that we need to file more and more patents. We have to ensure that whatever research, maybe experimental research or field research or survey research that we carry out, we publish it not just because we want to get publication very quickly, but we should publish it in a journal where I believe we can reach out to the right kind of people. And collaborative research, when I talk about collaborative research, it is within the university, with other universities, with industry, with corporate, with government departments. Collaborative research would also be extremely important in the near future. So what I wish is that my understanding as a teacher, I understand that it is only research which can improve the quality of teaching, and I would say that it's a big challenge before all of us. But as we all know, and I am fully confident that we would convert these challenge into an opportunity, and we would put efforts continually to see to it that the quality of research which for the research activities in which we would engage into, it would really help us to improve the standard of living, quality of lives, and we would ensure that the world would become the most beautiful place to live in. Now that is the impact of research, and we all are already availing the benefits of research carried out by the scientists, maybe even in pure sciences and social sciences. I would not go into the details, but there are two webinars that we have organized. The one is taking place today. We have another webinar. I'm sure in my last series of webinar on national education policy, I have described. We have Professor Naveen Shethji, the Vice-Chancellor of the Gujarat Technological University, a university which has created its impact at the national level. And we have our own beloved Professor Yogesh Singh, the former Vice-Chancellor of our MS University of Baroda and the current Vice-Chancellor of Delhi Technological University. Now this webinar is also taking place on 9th of September, and I would request all those who are attending today's webinar, if you have not registered, please register for that webinar, and all those who have registered, I would request all of you that please join. It is your participation, it is your response, it's your feedback which would motivate all of us. And Honorable Prime Minister today also categorically ask all citizens of the country, all stakeholders stakeholders that, we really need to make a detailed in-depth study of the national education policy, which is divided into 4 parts with 27 chapters, with about 12 chapters specifically, devoted to higher education. It is our responsibility, and I'm happy to share with all the attendees today that not only I convey my belated Teachers' Day greetings to all of you, but we have sent, communication with a draft, with a policy document to all faculty members of the Maharaja Sayajirao University of Baroda. Using this, opportunity, I would request all of you to please send in your valuable input, suggestions, and recommendations, so that it can be taken up for further, course of action, maybe at the state level and the national level, and the objectives for which this national education policy has been unveiled, with the philosophy and the principles, we would be able to achieve it in 2040. Thank you very much for a very patient listening, and my best wishes for the remaining part of the webinar, with a confidence that you will have a lot of intellectual takeaways today out of these webinar, and MS University of Baroda would keep on organizing such webinar in near future, and we look forward for your continual support and motivation. Thank you very much. Over to you, Dr. Chakravarti.
Thank you so much, Professor Vyas, for such inspiring and enlightening words, and also for your constant motivation and support to the students of our university. I would now request our Honorable Dean, Professor M.N. Parmar, to introduce our today's guest, Professor Ram Shankar Dubey.
Namaskar, Faculty of Management Studies, IQAC, the Maharaja Sayajirao University of Baroda. Welcome you all to national webinar on building research culture through NEP 2020. Professor Parimal Vyas, Honorable Vice-Chancellor of the Maharaja Sayajirao University of Baroda, under whose able leadership, we have organized this webinar in the Faculty of Management Study, the Maharaja Sayajirao University of Baroda. Professor R.S. Dubey, Honorable Vice-Chancellor, Central University of Gujarat. Professor J.P. Jurel, Director, Implantate Center, Ahmedabad. Professor B.S. Chakravarti, Director, IQAC. Our technical team, Dr. Arun, Dr. Jignesh, all deans of various faculties, head of the department, principals, teachers, and webinar participants. Faculty of Management Study, MSU Baroda, is one of the leading B school of India. It offers MBA, Executive MBA, and PhD program in the areas of marketing, finance, HR, and operation. Very well accepted in the corporates and the industries, and we have very good job placements of our own students. National education policy is one of the panacea for the development. Under the able leadership of Shri Narendra Modi, Honorable Prime Minister, this multifaceted, multidimensional, holistic new education policy has come. This NEP is going to revamp our education system and reconstruct basic education with overall development. Academic research and extension go together. NEP has given a lot of weightage to research because the research can strengthen the academics and the academic and the extension work. Therefore, we need to develop research culture in whole education system. Honorable Vice-Chancellor Professor Parimal Vyas has taken lot of lead in developing research culture in the Maharaja Sayajirao University of Vadodara. He has developed a scheme to support young professors, young teachers of the university for presenting paper and also for publishing papers. So in true sense, the research culture has been developed by the Honorable Vice-Chancellor in the university. This particular new education policy will help us to become Atmanirbhar Bharat, because we know that more than 8 lakh youth goes outside India for further education. But if we provide all facility in our own country, definitely they will use it and they will develop, in this country only. Education will be used for tools for the development, and as Honorable, Prime Minister says, that through this new education policy, we would like to make more and more employment creator than simply to become employees of any organization. So it's a more diversified, multidisciplinary subjects for the research. And recently, the Maharaja Sayajirao University of Baroda has also initiated, for executive PhD programs, wherein the working people will have added advantage to become, the PhD from this university. We know that this new education policy has the entry and exit at every point, even the credit banks, and there's a vast scope for, research and development in this new in this new education policy. Therefore, this particular webinar is very, very important, because it will enlighten us, it will help us to understand what are the scopes for research under new education policy, and it will also help us to understand and to develop vision for research culture in the universities. So with this note, let me welcome our key speakers, Professor Ramshankar Dubey, R.S. Dubey, Honorable Vice-Chancellor of Central University, Gandhinagar. Prior to it, he served as Vice-Chancellor in Tilka Manji, Bhagalpur University, Bhagalpur, Bihar, and also as Vice-Chancellor in Guru Jesidas University, Bilaspur, Chandigarh. He has served as a professor of biochemistry at Banaras Hindu University for over 20 years. Sir possesses an excellent academic records with MSc degree in biochemistry from Banaras Hindu University in 1976, standing first in order of merit, and PhD degree in biochemistry from Banaras Hindu University in 1980. Professor Dubey has over 43 years of experience of research and 36 years experience of teaching. He has served as head of the Department of Biochemistry at Banaras Hindu University for 4 terms. Professor Dubey has published 157 scientific articles, book chapters in peer-reviewed journal, books with more than 12,500 citation with H-index 46 and I-10 index 100. 31 students have received PhD degree under his supervision. He has completed seven major research projects funded by various external funding agencies and also national and international agencies. Professor Dubey is recipient of several national and international awards in plant biochemistry and biotechnology. Professor Dubey is presently serving as member, Board of Governance of IISER Mohali, MHRD Council nominee for selection at IISER Kolkata, visitors nominee at IIT Madras and IIT Guwahati. He has been serving as chairman and member of NEP peer team for many universities and colleges for many years. In a delegation of Vice-Chancellor sponsored by World Bank, he participated in academic leadership training at Pennsylvania State University, USA in 2014. He is Fellow of Indian Society of Agriculture Biochemists, Biotech Research Society of India, and Biomed Research Society of India. He has worked in several reputed laboratories abroad in countries like Sweden, Denmark, Japan, Germany, and has given many invited talks and chaired scientific sessions in national and international conferences in India and abroad. As a life member of many professional scientific bodies, Professor Dubey is serving as member of editorial board of Journal of Agronomy and Crop Science, Germany, and Indian Journal of Agriculture Biochemistry. So today we have versatile person, Professor R.S. Dubey. May I request Dubey sir to enlighten us about how to develop research culture in the university. Over to Professor R.S. Dubey. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Well, Professor Dubey, before handing over to you, I must share with you as well as Professor Jurel that it is the ritual of our faculty to welcome our guest with a sapling. But as we are having this lecture virtually, we will make sure that we plant a sapling in our faculty on behalf of you both. And also I would request the participants, if they have any questions, they can post it in the Q&A tab where we can take the questions after the end of the session. Now I would request Professor Dubey to take over the session.
Thank you so much. Honorable Vice-Chancellor, MS University Baroda, Professor Parimal Vyas ji, Honorable Director in FlipNet, Professor J.P. Singh Jurel ji, Dean Faculty of Management Studies, MS University of Baroda, Professor M.N. Parmar ji, IQAC Chairman, MS University of Baroda, Professor Chakrabarti, all faculty members of MS University of Baroda, and all those who are participating in this webinar, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I express my gratitude to Honorable Vice-Chancellor, MS University of Baroda, Professor Parimal Vyas ji, and all organizers for inviting me today to share my views with you. The National Education Policy 2020, which has been rolled out by the Government of India, it is a historical event in Indian education, not only in the independent India, but if you can think of in 1835, when that with Indian Education Act, in the education system, that English was introduced as a language of education. Since then, it is the first education policy of its kind, that in that policy, Indianness has been realized right from the beginning of a child, right from the 3 years of age. As we know, education is a dynamic process. It changes and grows with time and responds to the need of the society. Ancient Indian civilization was also a knowledge society where we had Guru Shishya Parampara. We had a strong bonding of Guru and Shishya, and that was the Guru Shishya Parampara. We had the Gurus with highest perfection of knowledge, and build on those Guru Shishya Parampara, the best university of the world one can think of, like Takshila University that was in India, the first university of its kind, established in 6th century BC. Takshila University was India, and similarly after that Nalanda University in 400 AD, and Vikramshila University, which was established in 800 AD. These universities had those types of teachers, gurus, who themselves they represented the perfectionist of knowledge, and at that same time they had the capability of innovative thinking and research, and that was the reason why India was Vishwaguru. India was Vishwaguru in ancient times due to its strong fabric of higher education system, because it has been realized, and even today also, that our universities are the institutions for creation of knowledge. knowledge is created only through the university. And that the created knowledge can be used by the diversified users, such as by industries can be used by policy planners, in upliftment of the society, in socio-cultural aspects. In many ways, this knowledge can be used. So knowledge is generated from the universities, and from the very beginning, India had this system. India had that glorious tradition. And in that tradition, as I pointed out, only due to the teaching learning process, only due to the basis of a strong educational fabric, India was exporter of many items, not only agricultural items, but many industrial items also India had to export. And in terms, India used to receive gold and silver, so that's why India was known as golden bird, sone ki chidiya. So what purpose? It was during the time the British colonial rule that our educational fabric was so much distorted that by 1947 literacy in India became only 12%. And at that time, in 1947, India had only 20 universities and nearly 500 colleges. And these universities were just degree awarding universities. So later on, culture of universities came up, and research culture in India also tried to improve. And if you see, right from 1947 onwards, India has marched quite ahead. If we talk about our space technology, India has its own indigenous spacecraft. India is the country in the world with the first launched Mars satellite, which could enter into the Mars orbit for the first time in the first attempt. So India has progressed a lot in missile technology. If we talk about the agriculture, India has revolutionized the agriculture with the help of the Green Revolution led by Professor M.S. Swaminathan. We had many varieties of crops. Because if you see till today on the international scenario, India represents nearly 17% of the world population, but it has only 3% of the land, it has only 5% of water, global water, but it has to feed increasing population, and it has been possible only due to our scientists, our inventors, our innovators, who have made significant contribution. So whether we talk about the agriculture, we talk about the space technology, we then talk about the health also. Before 1976, let us take example of insulin. Insulin was being produced from pancreas of animals, but later on, with the advancement of biotechnology, now it has been possible with recombinant DNA technology to produce recombinant protein of insulin in Escherichia coli. It has been produced on industrial scale. So now, as on today, in pharma industry, India is number 3rd in the world in terms of medicine production. So if you talk in the various fields in science, technology, even humanities and social science, India had a long tradition, and India is continuing towards achieving excellence in research. And as on today, on the global scenario, in the quantity of scientific engineering publication, India stands 3rd in the world. I said quantity of publication, but in the quality of publication, still we have to reach. Still in terms of quality of publication, USA and European countries, they are making their more impact in quality of publication compared to India. Of course, in India also, there are many institutions which are at par with the global standards. For example, Indian Institute of Technologies we have Indian Institution of Science, Education and Research, ISERS we have many central universities, we have many state universities doing wonderful job in research, but taking all together in scenario that we have to excel more and more in research. And there have been many regions. In National Education Policy 2020 also, it has been pointed out that if we talk about the scenario of research in India, that of GDP, only 0.69% of the GDP is being spent in India in research and innovation. Whereas if we take example of other developed nations, for example, United States, 2.8% of the GDP is being spent on research. In South Korea, for example, 4.3% of GDP is being spent on research. In China also, more amount of GDP is being spent on research. So this National Education Policy 2020 has realized that for any country, or a country like India, to prosper and to become a knowledge hub and to respond to the challenges of 21st century, it is very essential that research is given priority in Indian universities. And therefore, in this policy, attempt has been made for making a spending of 6% of the GDP for the education. As we remember, in 1968, in Kothari Commission, led by Professor D.S. Kothari, in that recommendation, it was clearly mentioned that in education, 6% of the GDP should be spent. But till now, maximum which we have spent, maybe around 4.3% or like that of the GDP, which has been spent on education. And the spending on research has been low. So in this education policy 2020, it has been realized that intensive research has to be carried out in our universities, because research are prerequisite for development of any nation. Research are prerequisite for the development of growth of industries, growth of agriculture, in the health. Wherever we can progress, it is only due to the research. And for that purpose, in this National Education Policy, a separate National Research Foundation and an autonomous institution will be created according to this policy, just like the UGC. UGC is autonomous organization. So like that, an autonomous body, National Research Foundation, will be created by the Act. And this National Research Foundation will have the mandate to coordinate, to mentor, and to fund and to seed research activities in the entire country. Till now, what has been happening, or still today what has been happening, that if we are working in the university, we are university faculty, and we have to conduct research, we have to get any extramural funding in form of research projects, then we have to approach many agencies. For example, we approach DBT, Department of Biotechnology, DST, Department of Science and Technology, ICAR, Indian Council of Agriculture Research, ICMR, Indian Council of Medical Research, Ministry of Energy Resources, and various other organizations we have to approach, DRDO, etc., Department of Atomic Energy, like that. So there are many extramural funding agencies where we have to approach for funding. And what has been that, for example, that we are taking funds from various agencies, including University Grant Commission, UGC also. At many times there have been possibility of duplication of research, and we do not know that where this research will lead to. So with the duplication of research, for example, Mr. X is doing in A university, Mr. Y is doing in B university, and the same type of research with slight variation research is being carried out. So it is just a wastage of money. So now there will be single monitoring body for the research throughout the country. So what will happen? The duplicacy of research will be prevented, and there will be a guiding force for research in form of National Research Foundation, because they will plan that what type of research is being required by the society, because it is very, very important. As I pointed out, that universities are centers for creation of knowledge. So who are the users of knowledge? We have to identify, and the users of knowledge are industry people, industries, the society planners for implement of our society, various types of problems faced by the society. For example, there are different problems we are facing today, various types of health issues we are facing various challenges we are facing, like energy crisis, transportation issues. So all these various types of issues what our societies are facing. So depending on that, well-led formulations will be made through national research foundations, that what should be our focus areas, what should be our priority areas for research in the country, and depending on that priority areas, funding will be done. And whatever funding the projects will be submitted, those projects will be peer reviewed by the experts. Not only will be reviewed, but those research will be further guided, further mentored by the National Research Foundation. So in this policy, National Education Policy 2020, the clear-cut guidelines have been suggested that this policy envisages to have three types of higher educational institutions in this country. That categorization, they have categorized that three types of higher educational institutions we should have in the country. The first category is research-intensive universities. So in the research-intensive university, because we know that research cannot be separated with the teaching. Teaching and research both go together. That if someone is a good researcher, definitely he will become a good teacher, because with research we get the updated knowledge, we collect the updated information. Wherever the information is scattered, that information is collected, assimilated, and then it is transformed in form of research. So with the research, the knowledge is generated. So the research and teaching cannot be separated, and research is a guiding tool for foundation of any society, for the progress of any society. So the National Education Policy envisages the need of having a category of universities known as research-intensive universities. It has also been pointed out that a model will be known as MERU model, M-E-R-U, MERU, multidisciplinary education. It's a research in multidisciplinary university, it's research in education. So when we talk about the multidisciplinary, this concept means that multidisciplinary university within a single campus, it should have multiple disciplines. That not the ideas of in a particular discipline, a particular universities have come up during the many years, but the National Education Policy, it strongly advocates about the multidisciplinary universities, that within a single campus there should be multiple disciplines ranging from medical, agriculture, engineering, etc. Because when faculty members from different disciplines will be together in one particular campus, there will be cross-fertilization of ideas, and there will be more and more ecosystem environment will be developed for conducting good quality research. Because whenever we talk about the good quality research does not originate from the idea that we go on doing stereotype research which we imitated many years ago. Because the need of our society keeps on changing day by day. What was the priority areas for the society 10 years to 20 years earlier, it is not today. So depending on the requirement, because we have to face the challenges of 21st century. So facing the challenges of 21st century, which is information technology, driven by information technology. And we know India is one of the largest exporter of information technology products. So the need was realized by this National Education Policy to have research-intensive universities, and they have made provision there would be 100 such universities, research-intensive university, which will be identified through National Research Foundation, and massive funding for research will be there in these universities. And that next category of institutions they have made teaching universities, but in teaching universities also the main quality will be on teaching, but this university will also be a research-linked university, research-intensive university, but priority will be teaching, means teaching and research together. Because in the first category, which I pointed out, that the research-intensive university, that more focus will be given on research and those research area which are needed by the society. And another category of institutions, the third one category of institutions are autonomous degree institutions. So So, while establishing this research universities, that Mission Nalanda has been given that name, that Mission Nalanda Abhiyan, that we have such type of universities which have multidisciplinary focus, because knowledge originates only from cross-fertilization of ideas. So for that purpose, and what type of research will be there, for that purpose it has been clearly focused in that although fundamental research will be carried out by the university, but at the same time it is more important to have research which is needed by the society. So our curriculum will have to be revised, as our Honorable Prime Minister also just mentioned, that the most important part is that depending on the need of the society, we have to modify our curriculum, we have to restructure our curriculum. And similarly, our curriculum at graduation level, our curriculum at master's level will also has to be revised, keeping in pace the need of the society, the need of the industry, need of the planners in various fields what society needs. And for promoting research at degree level, the degree will be for 4 years duration with multiple entry exit already pointed out. The multiple entry and multiple exit will be there. In the first year, if a student makes exit, then he will be given a certificate. In the second year, diploma, and third year, graduation degree. But at the same time, the fourth year of the degree will be exclusively for research. So there also comes the role of National Research Foundation. National Research Foundation will fund research for the fourth year of the degree. And when we talk about the master's degree will be of 2 years duration, in which the first year will be the fundamental teaching, and the second year of master's degree will be also exclusively for research. So there also comes the role of research, National Research Foundation. So till now at graduation level we had the practical training, but we are not having that much emphasis on dissertation or research. But in the National Research Foundation, right from the graduation level, in the last year, the fourth year of the graduation level, there is a provision of 1 year completely dedicated for research. And similarly at master's level also, master's level second year, first year will be only for the fundamental teaching, and the second year will be dedicated entirely for research. And it has been emphasized in national education policy, then when a student will be taking up school classes, so right from that period only, talent hunt will be there. That talent, it will be the responsibility, duty of the teachers to identify the talents, that to groom them, that who are the talents who are going for research. They can continue their further activity research. Because if we go according to statistics, in India, not more than 0.5% of the students, total students, are going for research. So compared to the other countries like states, USA, European states, number of students opting for research is low, percentage is low. So how to increase this percentage? To increase this percentage from the school level, talent hunt will be there, the talent will be searched in the students, curiosity will be created in the students, so that the students, the curiosity is created for going into the different fields like technical fields, science fields, etc. And right from the degree and master's level, when inclination will be more and more for research, so definitely a student will take up further research career. When he will go for the PhD, he will do quality of research will be definitely better, because to govern the quality of research, we are having National Research Foundation. For the throughout the country, there will be the guiding force that what should be the thrust area. So the routine type of research, we will move towards the fundamental research and need-based research. So the need-based research is very, very important for any country to move, because when we say the growth of any country, any nation, the first picture emerges that what is the status of education, what is the status of research, what is the status of science and technology, the progress of science and technology in that country. So it is the foremost pillar is the research, on the basis of which we can build a developed nation. And as I pointed out, that our ancient India was also a knowledge society due to its great leaders, because our history shows that we had a great inventors. We have Acharya Chanakya like a philosopher, like teacher in Taxila University. We had Acharya Dipan like teacher in Bikramshila University. And we had great inventors in the past like Maharaja Sushrut, who invented for various types of drugs, various types of surgical operations, even 500 BC, at that time when medical science was quite in infancy in the world. We have Acharya Kanad, the father of atomic theory, Maharishi Kanad, who invented that what are the atoms, what are the molecules, 600 BC. So we have a legacy of the scientists, a legacy of the science, which makes us very much glorious to understand our past tradition. We take the example of Nagarjuna. He was a great chemist of the 2nd century. We had the Aryabhat, the great physicist, great astrologer, Aryabhat. We had Varamihir, a great Persian. I mean, he was also a great mathematician. Samudragupta, many there. Bhaskaracharya. We have a great legacy. India had a great legacy, and based on that, India was Vishwaguru. So now again the time has come, and today also we don't have dearth of talent. The only thing is that in a coordinated way, we have to move ahead, and this national education policy, as I pointed out, is a milestone policy in the history of Indian education. So this policy clear-cut serves as a guideline that what will be our future direction for carrying out research. And in the form of 100 research-intensive universities which have been identified, definitely India will have a leading role in research in the future, and definitely to foresee a challenge of 21st century and to make global citizens produce from Indian universities, because our Honorable Prime Minister also one day he pointed out that we have to be global citizens, but we have to be rooted in India. And this education policy, as it envisages for the students going to school education right from the 3 years of age. So right from the 3 years of age, grooming will be done in the students with Indian ethos, Indian culture, Indian or civilization principles or values. So those values will be inculcated in our children from the very beginning. So when they will become grown up, they will take higher education, they will go for the research. So definitely they will become the global citizens, but at the same time they will imbibe our Indian values, Indian character, what the purpose of education was. Because the purpose of education, according to our great educationist, according to Mahamana Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya ji, according to Dr. Radhakrishnan, according to Swami Vivekanand, the purpose of education was not only knowledge empowerment, but purpose of education was development of mind, body and soul, means complete development, all-round development of the personality. That was the purpose of education. And with that purpose, the new education policy has come up. The new education policy will guide us to develop such curious students who can take up their profession for research. They can go for research activities with their curious mind, and they will be very much helpful in that way to solve the problem what our society is facing in various fronts, ranging from health, agriculture, energy, and various types of crisis, population explosion, and many things on nutritional point of view. So all different challenges facing by the society that we can get solutions only from the research, because scientists have shown that wherever any calamity has been done or whenever there is a need of the society, then it is only the research. So with the research only we can maximize our exports, because today also India is second largest farm grain producers in the world. India is the largest milk producer in the world. We are producing most of the vegetable. We are second producers of the world. So we are moving ahead with the science and technology research, but we have to move more vigorously, and to move more vigorously, the national education policy is a guiding force for us. So with these few words, again, I express my gratitude to organizers, especially to Professor Parimal Vyas ji, for giving me this opportunity to be here and to share my views with you. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing this enlightening session with us. We have a lot of questions coming in, but we will take all the questions after both of the session gets over. Moving further, now I would request Dr. Bhargav Pandya, Dean of Students, Faculty of Management Studies, the Maharaja Sayajirao University of Baroda, to introduce our next guest, Professor J.P. Singh Jurel. Over to you, Bhargav, sir. Hello, Bhargav.
Yes, Smith. Sorry, there was some connectivity issue. Distinguished guest, my faculty colleagues, our Dean Professor M.N. Parmar, and other attendees. I take this opportunity to introduce our second speaker, Professor J.P. Singh Jurel. Professor J.P. Singh Jurel is an accomplished teacher, researcher, and efficient administrator. Currently, Professor J.P. Singh Jurel is working as a director in InfraNet Center, Ahmedabad. Prior to joining InfraNet as a director, Professor Jurel was working as a professor of statistics in the University of Jammu, and he also held the position of director, UGC Human Resource Development Center. Professor Jurel has more than 33 years of vast experience in teaching and research. He has served at various positions in different universities, such as Jammu University, Jammu and Kashmir, Dr. Y.S. Parmar University of Horticulture and Forestry, Solan, Himachal Pradesh, Punjab University, Chandigarh, etc. As far as research activities are concerned, Professor Jurel has supervised 24 PhD and MPhil students, and he has more than 100 research publications to his credit. Similarly, Professor J.P. Jurel's research work has been recognized and covered in a book titled Restricted Parameter Space Estimation Problems, Admissibility and Minimixity Properties, authored by Van Eden and published by Springer, New York. Professor Jurel has also been associated with UGC visiting fellow at Sardar Patel University, Gujarat. Professor Jurel has contributed to higher education institution and their management. He served as a member on Council of the Premier Institute, Indian Statistical Institute, and governing bodies of several autonomous colleges, besides member of Planning and Monitoring Board of Universities and member syndicate. Currently, Professor Jurel is contributing as member on University Court, Central University of Haryana, Planning and Monitoring Board of Central University of Gujarat, ICT Committee of NEP, Academic Council of Consortium of Educational Communication, Inter-University Center of UGC, Empowered Committee of UGC CARE, Implementation Core Committee of NIRF, and Framework Development Committee and Team of Atal Ranking of Institution on Innovation, etc. Besides this, Professor Jurel has contributed in attaining the goal and objectives of the institution as member, chairman of the various committees, and by serving as head, Department of Statistics, OSD Examinations, Dean, Faculty of Mathematical Sciences, coordinator, DST Purse Scheme, convener, Departmental Research Committee, convener, Board of Studies in Statistics. He has shared the responsibility and contributed as a member in all the decision-making statutory bodies of the university, like like University Council, Syndicate, Finance Committee, College Development Council, Academic Council, and so on. Professor Jurel has also served as a member of selection committees in various universities, PSCs, and SSBs. Professor Jurel is a life member of various academic bodies, societies, and reviewer on editorial board of the journals of international reputes. He has also been secretary, vice president, and executive member of Indian Society of Probability and Statistics. Professor Jurel visited Australia, Portugal, USA, Thailand, Taiwan, Malaysia for academic pursuits. Now I would request Professor Jurel to share his thoughts with us. Over to you, Professor Jurel.
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
Parimal Vyas, Vice-Chancellor of MS University Baroda. Professor R.S. Dubey, Honorable Vice-Chancellor, Gujarat Central University. Professor B.S. Chakravarti, Director IQAC. Professor M.N. Parmar, Dean Faculty of Management. Professor Bhargav Pandya, Professor Jagdish Solanki, Professor Smith Desai, all other dignitaries, faculty members, students, सभी को मेरा सादर नमस्कार, प्रणाम. First of all, I would like to congratulate the team of MS University Baroda, led by dynamic Professor Parimal Vyas, as Vice-Chancellor, for organizing the series of webinars, and today's webinar on building research culture through National Education Policy 2020. I'm also thankful for Professor Vyas inviting me for sharing my thoughts and views on this topic. Friends, in the beginning, Professor Vyas has shared many things about the new education policy, requirement, scenario of teaching, and future dimension of research, especially in the MS University Baroda and also at the national level. Professor Dubey sir shared his thoughts and discussed the historical development of higher education and also shared his thoughts about ancient time and the modern education, especially in science and technology in India. Friends, the government of India at the right time to bring this new education policy, which in fact is the need of the hour, and we must congratulate our Prime Minister working day and night and his team also on this policy last 3 to 4 years, and finally we have this policy, and this policy has many positive thoughts, whether it is the flexibility, whether it is the credit transfer, whether it is the skill development, whether it is the vocational education, whether it is say the word using that is the light but tight regulations, whether taking the and accepting at the government level that the numeracy, concept of numeracy and literacy for our early budding students. So these are the many things which are mentioned in the education policy, and definitely country will be benefited. Also, the concept of that is the research university based on research, teaching research, and degree awarding college is also there. Now, as you all know, in this era, technology has to play a lead role in achieving the goals of this new education policy. And as you know, India has a long historical tradition of research and knowledge creation. The disciplines of science, engineering, mathematics, arts, literature, medicines, agriculture, and these needs to be further strengthened by using the technology. Also, India is a global leader in information communication technology. The Digital India campaign helping to transform the entire nation into a digitally empowered society and knowledge economy. And another thing that we know, for any system of education, institutions as in today are known by the research output, as most of the academic agencies are giving higher credit to research outputs, and also its fact the research of a university or institution is based on the teaching methodologies. When university has a strong teaching background, so research will automatically be high of that university. And second thing, the government is focusing since 2015 on enhancing the online education in India, but after this pandemic, COVID-19, we all are forced to adopt the technology as there is no other scope. So nowadays we are marching ahead towards online and digital education. Recently, the UGC has drafted and also notified the guidelines for online degree courses that can be offered by the different institutions. But friends, for all these online and digital education, we must have some common facilities, as India is a diversified country where we have institute of eminence, centrally funded institutions, central universities, state universities, private universities, and old universities, new universities. Institutions are situated in the metro cities and now coming in the remote areas. So it is the time for all of us to have the minimal, that the basic requirements for this online teaching and digital education, that we must have the digital infrastructure in place in each and every institution. Then we must have, or we must use the online teaching platform and tools for proper teaching. And other thing also that whether we are using any platform for the teaching, but until unless we don't have any e-content, it will be again difficult for us. So in the line of that, the Atmanirbhar Bharat, we must develop that the e-content. We must develop e-content for each and every subject, and we should have the digital repository of these e-contents, so that these contents can be disseminated among the students for their benefit. Another thing that because of the limitation of resources, now when a student sitting in that remote area and he or she don't have any facility for doing the practicals for the labor, so the another concept the government has introduced, that is the virtual labs for e-learning, that is for our students community, especially for those students who are in the far-flung area where they do not have such type of facilities. Now, other thing that is as I have not got much in the teaching side. Now see, as I discussed with you just here, that ranking and the name of the university nowadays, mostly that is the depend on their research output. So research output must have the proper resources for the faculty members and students. So what to do? So in that case, I in my opinion, that the India needs a comprehensive infrastructure to ensure that its science community has an unhindered access to global scientific and technical literature in real time, and that Indian work is published so that it has an international visibility. All scientific literature arising from public funded research should be available in public domain, and this should include research papers, research reports, and even the publication of the patent also. Now, research grants from all public sources will carry an explicit provision for publication charges, will be principal investigators having the choice of final destination for their publication, and one more thing, that is for the proper dissemination of the publication by any institution or university. Each university must create that is the institutional repository where the work of the faculty member can be deposited there, and on creating the institute repository, then at national level there must be some national repository, so that the different universities, institutions repository can be standardized, strengthened and harmonized in a single national institution system dealing with national archival system with a proper setup, so that the work or research output of a particular university can be shared among all the community, so that it will get more citation and that will be more that will accessible to all our that the stakeholders. One more thing, that nowadays we are facing because of the limited resources, that as we all know, nowadays all the research journals are available in the form of the electronic journals. So, and these electronic journals are not available as open access, and these are highly some journals are that highly costly also, so it is not possible for each and every member or each and every institution to have the access. So what to do? So in that case, that will be there some we should promote the open access system in our institutions, so that the literature can be made available to the stakeholders. Now that is the open access also, because many times due to the policy of the publisher, the authors do not have the right for having the right to go for the disseminating their work to the scientific community. So in that way, the authors and teachers can put their work into their the institute or repository, either before publishing also or even after publishing. So we must go for the open access policy. And also nowadays the demand, because if you go for the different type of the open access, we have the gold open access, green open access, simple open access. So the government is nowadays, not the government, you can see that nowadays need of the hour to have the green access. So green access, green open access means that that is self-archiving. It is a practice of placing a version of an author's manuscript in a repository which is freely accessible for everyone. And this version that can be deposited into a repository is dependent on the policies of the funder and not the publisher. And so in this era, now another concept that has come for our information scientists, whether they are from the computer field or they are from library science or from any persons involved in the development of this ICT facility in the university, that is how to provide the best literature or available literature to their faculty members and students. So, because we know many material that is available and which is free of that is the copyright, or many times we do not have any as a teacher also, as students also, we do not have any knowledge that what material is beyond the copyright or what material is within the copyright. So they can upload, they can share this material to all the faculty members and students here. And one more thing that is also we are at national level we have discussed this, and I think so government is also thinking to have the concept of the one nation and one nation, that the national licensing policy type, where that the government made that negotiate with the resource providers for the national licensing, so that all the students, all the faculty members can use these electronic resources freely without any hindrance. So I only that the hope, and let's see that in the future the electronic resources will play a vital role in the development of research facilities in our institutions. And one more thing, that is if you go with this national education policy, and a few days back I was listening our honorable HRM regarding this education policy, and he shared that very nicely defined that the mool mantra of this national education policy, that is nation first character must. So that is the main, if you go through this whole education policy, you find that these two things are, the education whole policy surrounded with the nation first and character must. And all the four parts of the report, from whether it be school education or the higher education or the other things also. So we see that in this report of the education policy, that the focus is surrounded with that, you can see that the talent, content, relevant, and patent. So these are the four things basic. You can summarize that the talent is there, content is there, relevant is there, patent is also there, and other things also, that is the about this education policy, that is the, it is also Indian. We talk about international here, we talk about interactive, we talk about impactful, we talk about inclusiveness. So as a whole, this new education policy will be very useful for our country, and I am sure that it will change the future dimension of education in our system, and definitely in the coming future we will have the institution of that is the at world level, and definitely so our students community will not that they go for higher education in the foreign country, and so by the talent of our youth can utilize for that is the India. And now I come to that is the MS University Baroda. I know this university has the that is the golden past, and it was one of the universities at the time of independence also there, and there was a dream even in my student life also to go for the higher education, the MS Baroda. Now sitting at the Information Center, I will be happy to extend all type of support for the development of whether it is library, whether it is the research, whether it is the learning management system, or the institutional repository, or any type of support from here. We will be happy to upgrade the facility in the MS University Baroda, and I request Prof. Vyas that he may ask his team to be in touch for any type of that is service that can be benefited, that can be useful for MS University Baroda. With these words, I once again thankful to the MS University Baroda for inviting me to share my views today this function. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your such an enlightening session. This was quite insightful for all the participants. We have a lot of questions coming in for both of our guests, but due to the time constraints, we will be able to accommodate a few questions. The first question from the audience for Professor Dubey is how research culture helps students to develop scientific temper.
Yeah, the thing is that if we conduct good quality research, that itself gives a pleasure to us. So, I mean, from the very beginning, if a student makes his career for research, so from the very beginning, I mean, it becomes his passion to look for scientific literature, to do good quality research, and slowly, when the person develops like that, then he will continue with the very good research. So that is how it happens.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Another question is for Professor Jurel. The question is, what kind of policies should universities pursue to be competitive in the information age?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, what kind of policies should universities pursue to be competitive in the information age?
Yeah, that is the first thing. The role of university to provide the ICT based infrastructure to each and every department, So all the facilities will be created. And one more thing that we can now in this two-day scenario, that the university must have some some platform for the online teaching learning purpose.
Okay, sir. Now, another question for Professor Dubey is, how can universities use their research into application, because the policies are framed by the government and the research by the universities are lying in the libraries. So how can we use both of them in actual application?
In fact, only those researches lie in the library which do not have application. So for that purpose, it is very important that first of all, at master's level, we have to restructure our curriculum so that the components of users, for example, industry, academia, industry interaction, academic, that society interactions should be there. So first of all, we have to restructure our curriculum, and we have to identify that what are the problems faced by the society. For example, we are facing energy crisis. We have to grow more food, so we have to bring new varieties of crops. In health also, many diagnostic we have to evolve. So we have to focus more and more on those researches which can be used by the users. Because as I pointed out earlier, that universities are centers for creation of knowledge. Knowledge is to be created. So knowledge has to be used somewhere, and that can be used by industry, by the society, and by the users. So we have to identify the users, and then only we have to go for application-oriented research, that where this knowledge has to be applied, where this knowledge has to be taken.
Okay, thank you, sir. Now, the next question for Professor Jurel is it necessary that a good teacher will be an empirical researcher and vice versa? And what steps should be taken to make it more compatible for the system?
You see, in a university system, we have different type of teachers. And we also know that many times a person may be a best teacher, but not a good researcher. Vice versa also, we see a teacher is the best researcher, but he is not more that is the active in teaching. And we find rare persons, or say that makes well that where we find the person is active in research as well active in teaching. That's why you see in many foreign universities you will find the professor research. This concept will also come in India also, because when we have the concept of research universities. So university system in that is a mixed setup is there. Some persons are that the expert in research, some persons are experts in the teaching although, and some persons are expert in teaching and research both. So it's quite that is difficult to say what are the parameters to become the best in teaching as well as research.
Okay, thank you, sir. Now, next question is for Professor Dubey. India's new education policy has scrapped the MPhil degree. So, do you think that the fresh master students can go for PhD directly?
I was pointing out when I was talking about the degree structure system, because that bachelor's degree had 4 years component, and the last year exclusively dedicated for research, 1 year completely. Similarly, at master's level also, 2 years master's degree, so 1 year is for fundamental teaching and the next year is for research. So already a student has completed 1 year research at bachelor's level, 1 year research is master level, so he is fully fit to undertake research at PhD level. So there was no need of MPhil degree, and we have seen that MPhil degree again they have to go for the PhD. So that is just wastage of time. So now this education policy has realized that after master's degree, completion of master's, one can go for PhD.
Okay, yes, sir. Next question for Professor Jurel. Do you think that each and every research paper and its data should be publicly available so that it can be helpful for some other research going in the same direction?
Yeah, now in the era of the ICT, that the knowledge dissemination, everything that available on that just on a single click. So all the material, whether it is research paper or research report, that should be in the public domain. That to be freely open access. Otherwise, there is no use of that research or whatever you say. There is no use if it is in the limited that the access is there.
Okay, yes, sir. Now we'll be taking the final question from Professor Dubey. Do you think that social responsibility should be taught in schools so that students learn from childhood how to respect parents, women, etc.?
In fact, as I pointed out, that this is the national education policy in the true sense national. Because in a country like India, where we have a long tradition of values, human values and culture. So from 3 years of age of the student, if he inculcates the values, human values, so definitely there will be all-round development of his personality. Then he will be in a better position to get more attached with mother language, mother tongue and motherland with his country. So that is very much essential, because this is the education policy which envisages to become a all-round developed personality for a student. So it is very essential. So in that way, this new education policy that fulfills those ideas.
Okay, thank you so much, sir, for answering these questions. I hope the participants got the answer for the questions. I would request Professor Parimal Vyas to share some of his thoughts.
Namaskar, I hope I'm audible to all of you.
Yes, sir, you are audible, completely audible.
Thanks a lot. I was just listening to some of the questions that have come, and they are very, very interesting and thought-provoking. And I was also listening to both the addresses. I believe, such kind of webinars and guidance from expert would certainly help us to put efforts for research. What I understand, because the objective of these kind of webinar is to create, inculcate and build kind of a research culture. And if I at the close of the webinar, if I just say that culture consists of subculture, values, attitudes and ideas that are transferred from one generation to another generation. And sometimes we do come across situations where the researchers would say that no, yet best paper is yet to come. What I would request to all my attendees, that if you really want to improve teaching, which the two eminent experts which are with us, they would also agree. It is now, in fact, under the age of information technology revolution, it has become so challenging that there are multiple touch points, and if you will not keep yourself updated, let us confess, let us agree, and let us admit that when we take whether an online class or a conventional class, if we can make student feel, if we can make student realize that after attending session or after attending a class or after attending a webinar like this, there is some value addition which is taking place. He or she now understood something, some new learning has taken place. In fact, the entire national education policy, if somebody would ask me, not only it is innovative, not only it is student-centric and learner-centric and all-inclusive and integrated, but above all, it is equitable. There is a transformation that we are going to have, with the implementation of new educational policy, and in itself is revolutionary. So, if we really want to, change the world, if we really want that India leads in the front of knowledge creation, then the responsibility above all lies with the teachers, with the universities, with the colleges, with the education institutions, and also with the researchers. So research is an important component. We really need to change our perspective for research research, and it is not that we would just get some leaflet of some conference and then we will use some sources and then we would submit some research paper or article. What is most important according to me in research is passion. What you maybe teaching and research, though they are integrated, at times you may concentrate on your thirst areas where you would like to do research. Research is very closely associated with your passion, your day-to-day reading, and there you have a flexibility. At times you may not get that flexibility for teaching, but the request and the expectation from all the academicians in our country is to design an online course and ensure that we all accustomed with the online mode of not just teaching but research. That was the reason we had Professor Zural with us, because he's the director of Infobinet, and let us take responsibility of whatever that we write, whatever that we disseminate, and whatever that we conclude, and we should not just look at West in order to carry out research. I am of the strong believer that we have to look at our own traditions, our own reservoir of knowledge, and I'm sure if we bring these change in our outlook, certainly we would be able to develop research capabilities. This was the first in a row. I would request all my dear attendees and my esteemed deans and other colleagues of the MS University of Baroda that please join on 9th, same time, maybe I believe it is 11 o'clock, where Professor Yogesh Singh and Professor Naveen Sheth, they would also be discussing on developing research capabilities and competences in universities and higher education. On behalf of the university, I appreciate and acknowledge deep sense of gratitude to Professor Dubey and maybe a leader in true sense, far excellence from BHU and wealth of experience in research from biochemistry, and Professor Zural who has moved from Jammu to Ahmedabad and heading an institution for which we all Indians take pride. Thank you one and all, and over to Dr. Chakrabarti.
Thank you, Professor Vyas, for such words. I would request Ms. Smita Trivedi, Assistant Professor and Placement Coordinator, Faculty of Management Studies, the Maharaja Sayajirao University of Baroda, to give the vote of thanks. Over to you, Smita ma'am.
Thank you, Smith. Good afternoon, one and all present here. It gives me great pleasure in proposing the vote of thanks on behalf of Faculty of Management Studies and IQAC. First of all, I would like to express our deep sense of gratitude to our distinguished speaker, Professor R.S. Dubey, Honorable Vice-Chancellor, Central University, Gandhinagar, for accepting our invitation and for sharing his insightful address on National Webinar on Building Research Culture through National Education Policy 2020. Thank you, sir, for enlightening us with detailed information about the National Research Foundation, its priorities, various aspects covered under the National Research Foundation. I also mention here, as you said, about the restructuring of curriculum for the development and growth of the research. My heartfelt thank goes out to eminent speaker, Professor J.P. Singh Jural, Director, Infobinet Center, Ahmedabad, for sharing his views and opinions on National Education Policy 2020 from the perspective of research. Here I really would like to say something about this. Sir, you said about the developing institutional depository and connecting with the national level depository of research outputs. Also the role of technology, online education, and promote green open access of the research outputs at the institution level. Thank you, sir, for being with us and even extending your support support in future to the university. I take this opportunity to thank our Honorable Vice-Chancellor, Professor Parimal Vyas, for providing us the wonderful opportunity for organizing this wonderful national level webinar and your support as always. Sir, under your able leadership, university not only grow in the research but will achieve remarkable height in developing the, as you said, collaborative research and bringing more patents. My sincere thank also go out to all Senate and syndicate members, deans of various faculties, heads of the departments, and all teaching faculty members across the university for having taken their time out and be with us and gracing the occasion. My gratitude to Professor Parmar, Dean Faculty of Management Studies, for taking initiative and organizing such a timely, important webinar on this important subject. I would also like to thank Professor Chakravarti, Director IQAC, for collaborating and coordinating in organization of this webinar throughout. A special word of thanks to all the attendees, colleagues, research scholars and young students for their active participation. I would like to place on record my gratitude to Dr. Arun Anand, Dr. Jignesh for their unending technical support. Also would like to thank web content team of our university for their continuous support. I would also like to thank office staff of IQAC for their continuous support throughout this webinar. Once again, thank you all. Namaskar.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I tender my gratitude to each and every one of you for being with us today. It takes a lot of sacrifice to set aside the time from our busy schedule and attend such webinar. Thank you for being so generous with your time and attending our session. In the end, I would urge the audience to take utmost care of themselves and their loved ones. Be responsible citizens and take necessary precautions seriously. Thank you once again. This is Smith Desai signing off. Have a good day. Over and out.